3745-400-09C addresses the site characteristics report necessary to qualify groundwater scientist. The original report in 2004 listed Stephen L. Tompkins of HZW Environmental as the qualified groundwater scientist who prepared and certified the applicable documents. The initial groundwater report prepared by Mr. Tompkins was based on 5 test bores performed in December of 2003. Of these 5 test bores, only 1 was within the limits of debris, and additional test bores were necessary. 12 years later, on 7/24/2015, 4 additional test bores were completed by civil and environmental consultants. It is not known if Mr. Tompkins is still with HZW and the qualified groundwater scientist of record. The certification from Mr. Tompkins should reflect that the additional data was reviewed and did not change his determination. To date, Trumbull County has not received any documentations or notices indicating a change to the groundwater scientist of record. Any changes in personnel would require to submit an experience according to OAC 3745-400-09C2 and the certification stating that the new person is in agreement with the accuracy and completeness of Mr. Tompkins' initial report. OA 3745-400-09C5 contains information for collecting specific data used in the hydrologic investigation to support the groundwater's report, the ground scientist's report. The investigation shall be documented in a narrative form using such maps and cross-sections to clearly convey the nature of the hydrological conditions beneath the facility. Test boring laws, laboratory testing data, maps, and cross-sections were prepared and presented to better understand the situation. 9 test bores were performed at the site ranging in depth from 30 to 49 feet. A table and the attached sheet 4A shows a general summary of the test boards, depth and locations. Within the site characteristic report, the groundwater scientist stated that the upper perch zone does not meet the definition of an aquifer. It is unclear how the statement could be made because according to OAC 3745-400-01C, the following 3 criteria are necessary. He has the first, yields less than 3 gallons per minute, but greater than 1/10 of a gallon per minute. 2, the groundwater yield is less than 50% of the yield of another saturated zone present under the facility. And 3, which is likely source of water used for any purposes within 1 mile of the facility. The applicant did not drill into another saturated zone within the bedrock beneath the facility to demonstrate that the yield of the 2-inch test well is comparable with the nearby residential wells of a greater diameter. The groundwater scientist went on to say that the uppermost aquifer system, which is based upon the data from ODNR, is located within the underlying bedrock at an approximate depth of 60 to 80 feet. According to OAC 3745-400-9C5C, which states, when groundwater monitoring is required for a facility, a description and documentation of the first continuous significant zone of saturation underlying the facility. This description and documentation shall include the depth to the lateral and vertical extent of the first continuous significant zone of saturation under the facility. The 9 test bores completed at the Transrail site were not drilled deep enough to determine the actual uppermost aquifer elevation or accurately characterize the geologic beneath the proposed facility. The uppermost aquifer elevation was assumed and not confirmed. This data showing the top of the uppermost aquifer system must be shown on the cross-section sheets according to OAC 3745-400-07F4B. The uppermost aquifer and hydrogeologic beneath the facility is not clearly defined. The 5-foot isolation distance beneath the bottom of the landfill debris and the uppermost aquifer have to be fully reviewed and confirmed. When questioned in a previous review comment about the upper aquifer and perch zone, no detailed response was received. It remains a valid question and unanswered question. Furthermore, without a clearly defined hydrogeolic beneath the facility, procedures for collecting of representative samples for groundwater monitoring are not adequately defined. I'll just have to speak louder. A final summary as to whether the standards established in Rule 3745-400-06 was not provided. Furthermore, the public and private water well sections of the groundwater scientist report, it states, site reconnaissance revealed the presence of at least 4 residential properties within 1,000 feet of the site along Drummond Road. Wow. According to OHC 3745-400-09 C4F, a map showing the location of the facilities in all water supply sources within 1,500 feet of the limits of debris placement shall be provided. The active wells for the residential properties along Drummond Road were not field located or shown on the drawings. In addition, OHC 3745-400-09C5C states the narrative cross-section.
You're quiet, sir.
Can't hear you. Yeah, speak up.
Can we switch mics?
Gotta talk loud. Speak up.
I will, sir. And Penco's sonic maps shall include the direction of flow within the first continuous significant zone of saturation underlying the facility. The report has insufficient information and is not in compliance with the listed OAC requirements. An additional comment, the proposed, you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. An additional comment was, on my report, was the proposed location of the landfill is in close proximity to a major underground aquifer and several abandoned mines which were constructed in the late 1800s. The general history of the surrounding mines and effects on the aquifer system should be reflected in the narrative, along with possible actions if unforeseen conditions occur. OAC 3745-400-07F states, the facility construction design plan shall include the liner and leachate collection systems designed, shall be signed and sealed by a professional engineer registered in Ohio. The initial drawings and calculations submitted in 2004 by CT Consultants were signed and dated by Owen Karakoff, but his engineering seal was not visible. Mr. Karakoff's professional engineering license and expired December 31st, 2019, and its current status is inactive. The drawings and calculations provided by Buckeye Civil Design were missing the required seal, signature, and date on all submittal drawings. A complete set of 24 by 36 drawings at a scale of 1 inch equals no greater than 200 feet and contours no greater than 5 foot with the engineering seal, signature, and date was unavailable. OAC 3745-37-02E6. All financial assurance documents required by Rule 3745-400-13 of the Administrative Code shall be included with the C&DD license application. Transrail America provided an irrevocable letter of credit dated November 23rd, 2005, which was not to exceed $75,875 and contained an expiration date of January 2nd, 2007 with an annual extension. The original application was Transrail America, Capitol Heights, Maryland. The Trumbull County Recorder's Office showed a quitclaim deed for Transrail America to RBS Ohio LLC, dated June 22nd, 2012. The status of Transrail America in its judicial jurisdiction of Maryland is listed as forfeited. For domestic corporations, this also means that the business has no existence under the laws of the state of Maryland. The financial assurance documents, calculations, worksheets, letter of credits, and environmental covenants, if necessary, need revised accordingly and submitted. Signatures and titles of office issuing the institution with date should be a part of the document. OAC 3745-400-11F3 states that the owner or operator shall deposit incoming loads of debris at a designated unloading zone where the debris shall be inspected and prohibited waste shall be removed unless the owner or operator has received approval of and has implemented a pre-acceptance debris screening program at the facility. Because tab 10 of the application was not marked, an unloading zone has to be established as outlined in OAC 3745-3702E7C. Information regarding the loading zone was not seen within the narrative or drawings to determine compliance with this OAC requirement. In 2004 permit application, CT consultants submitted drawings showing calculations for a volume of debris, anticipated life of the facility, and cap erosion. The calculated data was based upon a design different than Buckeye Civil Design Plan. The total limits of debris remain at 20.5 acres, but the debris area footprint, depth, bottom slope, and location were all changed. The calculations submitted by CT consultants do not reflect the revised plan provided by Buckeye Civil Design. No revised set of calculations with an engineering seal from Buckeye Civil Design were provided. The design calculations with reference to equations, site-specific input, and assumptions shall be signed by an engineer and in accordance with OAC 3745-400-07FC and OAC 3745-3702E5. The Transrail America property contains 172.186 acres of land. In September 2016, Davy Resources provided a wet well delineation report of 38 acres, which is being within the vicinity of the limits of debris. The delineation report listed 2 wetlands totaling 0.019 acres and 230 lineal foot of stream, no category 3 wetlands were listed. The Army Corps of Engineers issued a pre-jurisdictional determination letter concerning the wetlands shown in the September 26, 2016 report. This report did not involve any other areas outside the Transrail site or the impact of construction. For example, the 20.5 acre debris area will be excavated 30 to 40 foot deep beneath the existing ground surface. This would amount to 1 to 1.3 million cubic yards of excavated material. The debris placement plan did not provide environmental impacts resulting from stockpiling or hauling the excavated material, borrow pits, cover materials, including weekly fire protection or temporary roads. The specific on-site and or off-site locations of where the material came from has to be shown in relationship to the wetlands and the streams. Based upon the enclosed copy of the National Wetland Inventory Map, which was a part of the 2016 delineation, pockets of wetlands and waterways surround the 38-acre study area. The report did not incorporate impacts to wetlands or streams on the entire 172.186 acre parcel. OAC 3745-400-01G states, for the purpose of setting a new construction and demolition debris facility, Rule 3745-400-06 of the Administration Code requires that the entire facility, not merely the limits of construction and demolition debris placement, be located in areas not prohibited by statute. The report was limited and did not comment on disturbances beyond the 38-acre study area. The environmental impact due to construction will likely be beyond 0.019 acres and 230 lineal feet of stream, as stated in the wetland delineation report. Further permits would be required prior to construction, but the debris placement plan lacks sufficient information. The 2004 application identified the entire 20.5 acres within the facility property line as a proactive licensed disposal area. A revised narrative noted 5 acres will be active and 15.5 acres will be inactive. The delineation of the areas and construction sequence for both are not shown according to OAC 3745-3702 E3 and 4. OAC 3745-3702 E7A5 states that debris placement shall include the direction of flow for all surface waters at the facility, including the location of all runoff and runoff controls, such as ditches, for the limits of debris placement. The location of any stormwater, erosion, and sediment controls required by the Clean Water Act and regulated by the Ohio EPA Division of Surface Water, such as sedimentation ponds. A stormwater pollution prevention plan was presented by CT Consultants with the 2004 application, which showed a silt fence and straw bale detail. A revised drawing by Buckeye Civil Design showed a planned view location of 2 sedimentation ponds. Calculations were provided by CT Consultant indicating the site will generate 3.1 tons of sediment per acre per year. Without ample information regarding temporary and permanent erosion controls or best managed practices, degradation to the receiving stream, Little Yankee Run, is likely to occur. Additional information is necessary to show in compliance with the code. An additional comment regarding the permit. Stormwater discharges at the Transrail site would be covered under the general stormwater permit for construction activities under the NPDES permit. Placement of debris cannot begin until the owner or operator has applied for and received all applicable permits and authorizations required. Operating C&DD landfills are also required to seek coverage under an individual NPDES permit. It is not known if the EPA will require water quality volumes, 20% additional capacity for losses expected due to sediment accumulation, or minimum setbacks for Category 2 or Category 1 wetlands respectively. The liner and leachate collection details provided by CT Consultants for the 2004 application was based upon leachate recirculation. The leachate recirculation would be manually operated, spraying from a vacuum truck to the working phase or held for later recirculation. According to OAC 3745-400-07 F5C11, the health district can either approve or disapprove leachate recirculation at its discretion. If leachate recirculation is not approved, the leachate generated at the site would ultimately have to be pumped, hauled, and treated at a licensed wastewater treatment facility. Contamination levels from random samples will vary and can adversely affect the treatment plant operation. Typically, wastewater treatment plants are unwilling to accept high-strength leachate generated at C&D sites without imposing concentration limits and restrictive conditions. A contract agreement from a treatment facility and a licensed hauler would be necessary. The application narrative has no information regarding the sampling or disposal of the leachate. OAC 3745-400-07 F5C9 and 10 requires the system be designed to be capable of conveying leachate outside the limits of the debris placement for treatment and discharge. Drawings from Buckeye show leachate tanks west of the debris field. How the leachate is collected, routed, and discharged from the eastern end of the disposal field to the leachate tanks is not shown. A leachate collection sump, pump, force main, and sample port is not shown on the details. Certified calculations are not provided from Buckeye showing the estimated leachate volume, flow rates, or sizing of the proposed tanks. The facility plan has no information regarding sampling, pre-treatment, hauling, or disposal of the leachate to an approved treatment facility. Furthermore, there appears to be drainage issues on the bottom of the debris grading plan shown on sheet 7C. The north-south slope between the 930 contour across the eastern floor of the disposal area appears less than the minimum slope of 2%, which contradicts OAC 3745-400-07 F5C3A. No sufficient information was available demonstrating that the leachate will not accumulate beyond the 1 foot minimum depth allowed on the bottom of the construction liner. OAC 3745-400-07 F5C2. Or functioning without clogging. That's OAC 3745-400-07 F5C6. Calculations and information demonstrating compliance with the leachate collection system elements are outlined in OAC 3745-400-07 F5C must be provided. In closing, I had to go through this, I'm sorry. You have the document. closing, ultimately, Transrail CNDD application should be approved or denied by the reviewing authority on the basis of applicable Ohio administration codes and the quality of information contained within the application. OAC 3745-37-03D states, the licensing authority of a construction and demolition debris facility may impose such special terms and conditions as are appropriate or necessary to ensure that the facility will comply with Chapter 3714 of the Ohio Revised Code, Chapter 3714 of the Revised Code, and Chapter 3745-400 of the Administration Code to protect public health and safety and the environment. According to OAC 3745-3703C, the license authority shall not issue a C&D facility license unless all portions of the proposed facility meet the requirements contained in Rule 3745-400-06 of the Administrative Code. It remains our opinion that all persons of record, the owner, engineer, statutory agent, groundwater scientist, shall be clearly defined. If significant modifications to the application regarding the site characterization report, facility design plan, groundwater monitoring, debris placement, site drawings, or financial assurance documents occur, 2 complete sets of the revised application and/or tab section should be resubmitted in its entirety to the Health Department. All submittals shall contain original signatures, certifications, and an engineering seal in accordance with the OAC regulations. That concludes my remarks.